Once there lived a man so vicious and cruel that it is said he literally made the Ganges River turn red with blood. Malik Kafur, a Hindu slave whose origins traced back to humble beginnings as a simple boatman, rose through cunning and guile to become the second most powerful man in the Delhi Sultanate, one of India's first great empires. During the early 14th century, he briefly seized control of northern India after dethroning his own master, Sultan Alauddin Khilji, who had once conquered the whole region with his military brilliance. Although Kafur only held power for 35 days, his rise and fall remain one of the most insane episodes in ancient history, a tale of ambition, betrayal, and bloodshed that makes the most shocking turns. Malik Kafur's story started modestly enough as property captured. During Sultan Alauddin Khilji's conquest of Gujarat in 1296, Aloysius wanted to subjugate all of northern India under his rule and expand the empire all the way to the Himalayas. Along the way, he crushed rebellions, executed Hindu kings, and pillaged holy cities, leaving a trail of blood behind him. In his campaign to conquer Gujarat, the Sultan's army captured many prized possessions: elephants, jewels, silk, and slaves. Among these captives were two brothers named Malik Kafur and Malik Kafur, both originally Hindu but forcibly converted to Islam. As slaves, they entered the service of the Sultan's household, enduring beatings and menial tasks. However, their servitude did not last long. Soon after their capture, the Sultan noticed something special about these two slaves. They were exceptionally intelligent and quick learners. Malik Kafur, despite his low status, had the privilege of entering the royal court. There he impressed everyone with his charm and wit, while Malik Kafur excelled in martial arts and swordplay, becoming an expert horseman and archer. At the time, Alauddin's armies were constantly on the move, needing to be equipped and provisioned. So the Sultan ordered his chief minister to put Malik Kafur in charge of managing the army supplies. Kafur was able to cut waste and reduce costs by introducing accounting rules and a standardized system of measurement. Meanwhile, Malik Kafur's talent for warfare caught the Sultan's eye. Alauddin gave him command of the Royal Elephant Corps, where Kafur developed innovative tactics and training techniques. Because of his skills, Kafur quickly became indispensable to the Sultan. He got wealthier, receiving villages as grants, and married into the royal family. He wed the Sultan's daughter Jamali, cementing his new status. By now, both brothers had advanced beyond their wildest dreams as slaves, thanks to their intelligence, adaptability, and compliance with their master. However, it was during these years that the brothers faced their greatest challenge, one that would ultimately lead to their confrontation with their master. Throughout his reign, Alauddin Kaki faced external and internal threats. The Mongols attacked repeatedly, forcing him to repel invasions and pursue campaigns of his own. At the height of his power, a rebellion broke out among the Khwarezmians, an ethnic group from Central Asia that had settled in India. Malik Kafur found himself accused of collaborating with the rebels. Though innocent, Kafur knew he needed help to save himself, so he turned to his brother, Malik Kafur, for assistance. The elephant commander used his influence to gather evidence proving his sister-in-law's innocence. But Kafur went further, convincing the Sultan that the prime minister was actually plotting with the Khwarezmians. Caught between his ministers, Alauddin needed someone he could trust, and that's when he turned to Malik Kafur. From then on, the elephant commander took part in all important councils, acting as an intermediary between the Sultan and the ministers. Now the Sultan's right-hand man, Kafur continued to fight his enemies, expanding the empire's borders. For example, in 1305, he participated in the siege of the Deccan city of Warangal, one of the most powerful kingdoms in southern India. During the assault, he proved instrumental in defeating the local ruler, King Prataparudra. Once Warangal fell, Malik Kafur was awarded vast territories, solidifying his position as one of the richest and most powerful nobles in the empire. With all this power, prestige, and wealth at his fingertips, it seemed Malik Kafur had reached the pinnacle of success. But his ambition knew no bounds. In reality, he secretly plotted against his benefactor and master. As Alauddin aged, he became increasingly paranoid and suspicious, convinced that his sons and courtiers conspired to overthrow him. Kafur decided to take advantage of the Sultan's insanity. He began whispering false accusations into the Sultan's ear, telling him that certain members of the royal family and influential ministers wanted to poison or imprison him and install one of the princes as the new Sultan. Kafur claimed that he alone could protect the Sultan and urged him to take preemptive action. Alauddin, already prone to suspicion, listened to his trusted advisor. He summoned his eldest son, Prince Kaiser Khan, and his brothers to question them. When the princes denied the accusations, the Sultan threw them into prison. But seeing that his father had lost his sanity, Malik Kafur intensified his efforts. First, he convinced the Sultan to transfer the royal treasury from the capital to a safer location. Then he persuaded him to move to another city called Siri, closer to the border with the Mongols. Finally, Alauddin succumbed to Kafur's machinations and banished his entire family, including his wife and daughter, from the empire. Now, with all potential heirs to the throne removed, Kafur continued to persuade the Sultan. He suggested forming a council of advisors to assist the aging ruler. To his surprise, Aladdin agreed. Kafur nominated 3 men for the council, but one was absent when the Sultan summoned him. Malik Kafur. Unbeknownst to Aladdin, Kafur had gone to see his brother and told him to stay away, so he could be appointed as a judge in a distant province. But the Sultan saw this absence as a sign of disloyalty. Believing Kafur supported the imprisoned prince's plot, Aladdin ordered his arrest. Malik Kafur promised to find Kafur guilty, saying he had heard rumors that his brother intended to flee to the Deccan. The Sultan accepted this explanation and sentenced Malik Kafur to death. Days later, Kafur approached Aladdin and informed him that Malik Kafur had been found dead, supposedly killed while trying to escape. Overwhelmed with grief, Malik Kafur consoled his master, promising to avenge his brother's death. The Sultan granted him permission to execute anyone connected to Malik Kafur's supposed rebellion. With royal approval, Malik Kafur eliminated anyone who had dealings with his brother, including the courtier, Zafar Khan, whom he falsely accused of funding Malik Kafur's rebellion. When Aladdin heard of Zafar Khan's execution, he praised Malik Kafur for eliminating traitors and keeping the empire safe. However, Kafur wasn't done yet. He still had the imprisoned princes to deal with. According to the chronicles, Malik Kafur visited Aladdin and expressed concern about the safety of the court. Because the princes could receive pardon and return to seek revenge, he suggested killing the princes to prevent any future danger. Once again, the Sultan followed his advisor's advice. On June 13, 1306, Malik Kafur brought both princes before their father and demanded they be put to death. Aladdin accepted his son's fate, knowing that nothing could stop the inevitable. Soon, the Sultan sent for his royal executioners to carry out the sentence. But when they arrived, he hesitated. He couldn't bear the thought of ending his own sons' lives. Seeing his master's internal conflict, Malik Kafur took advantage of the situation. He told the Sultan that he felt remorse for his harsh request, but assured him that he didn't want the princes to suffer the pain of death. Instead, he proposed blinding the princes, which would allow them to live without the burden of avenging their lineage. Convinced by Kafur's argument, Aladdin accepted the lesser punishment, believing he had shown mercy. But what Malik Kafur didn't tell the Sultan was that blinding people was a capital punishment in itself. The executioners carried out the Sultan's orders, ripping out the eyes of both princes and throwing them into separate dungeons. Later, both died due to complications from their wounds. The heirs apparent were eliminated, making Malik Kafur unstoppable. A few months later, Aladdin passed away, leaving the vast Delhi Sultanate without a clear successor. According to the custom, the next ruler should have been his eldest surviving grandson, Prince Masood Khan. But remember, Malik Kafur had ensured that both his cousins were blinded and imprisoned. Without any other royal family members in the picture, he was the obvious choice to rule the empire. Yet Malik Kafur was cautious. He wasn't popular among the masses, and openly seizing power would have sparked a revolt. So instead, he forced the Sultan's widow to marry his own son, Mubarak Khan, making Mubarak the new Sultan. At just 5 years old, Mubarak became the puppet ruler, while Malik Kafur became regent and effectively controlled the empire. Even more shockingly, he became the stepfather to the king. Finally, the ambitious slave had achieved everything he had set out to do. But his reign lasted only 35 days. Malik Kafur was hated by the nobles, who resented his meteoric rise. Moreover, the royal guards were furious over the blinding of the young princes, whom they considered their legitimate heirs. Led by one of the executioners, Malik Kafur's opponents waited for the right moment to strike. They assassinated Malik Kafur as he rode through the streets of Delhi on the back of an elephant. Afterwards, they installed Sultan Mubarak Khan's uncle Nasiruddin as the new ruler and took control of the empire. But Mubarak Khan was not content with living under house arrest. He escaped the palace with his mother and sister and took refuge in a nearby fort. Malik Kafur's assassins found them there and blinded the young sultan and his sister. Then they returned to Delhi and placed Nasiruddin on the throne. Nasiruddin's reign marked the beginning of the end for the Khaji dynasty. Civil war engulfed the kingdom, rival factions fought each other, and the Khwarezmian nobles, now refugees in the Deccan, sought help from the rising kingdom of Vijayanagar, beginning an age of chaos and decline for the Delhi Sultanate. The story of Malik Kafur might seem like a thing of legend, but accounts from the time describe a man as real as any other. Many historians argue that stories of his incredible cruelty might have been exaggerated, but there's no denying that this slave, born from humble origins, managed to attain and abuse great power in 14th century India. His legacy remains a chilling reminder of how far ambition and ruthlessness can take a person, and the lengths they will go to retain control. And now it's time for you to tell me, do you think the story of Malik Kafur is an example of a man simply taking what he deserves? Or was his rise a product of his master's paranoia and weakness? You decide in the comments below. Thanks for watching.